look like a lot? I'm not sure. For me, it does. I done fucking whole thing consisted of taking on, putting on, cutting, trimming, making whole, wallow out like wood pussy, y todo el puto pedo, and cleaning all that bullshit. But this just so y'all can see the process and how it's going. So I got a couple things I need to figure out and kink up, but the big shit is done as far as motor, tranny, all this bullshit. So I went ahead and took the intake back off because it was dirty. I just put it on there to presentarlo, so I don't know how all this was gonna run for the intake. Took the fur rolls apart off the intake and pressure washed, degreased it, that bitch itself. Also degreased and pressure washed this. All I did was just take this little clip off, a little connector for your cold packs, put a little plastic bag over it, just precautionist to make sure no water will get in there, just for whatever reason. I do plan on taking out this alternator again. It's kind of sore thumb because everything's kind of been cleaned and that's todo mugroso. So I'll probably just try to see if I can do it with a wire wheel or something, because it does look bad since it's being up here with clean and all new shit, boss, basically. Most of the day was kind of consisted of trying to get this mocked up, sturdy, nice looking. So as y'all know, this core support is not really made for this, so we kind of make it work. The good thing we did E-fans, because if we were trying to do the clutch and all that with some kind of shrouding, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't line up right and would be touching or something. So E-fans is a good thing that we did that and went ahead and got those. Another thing I forgot to mention, we still got to get the wires and the relays to be able to use this, since the harness doesn't come with it. So what I ended up doing is I was going to use a piece of plastic to cover this because you kind of do have a gap and kind of a sore thumb there, but using plastic is kind of shitty because you don't have nothing to mount to. You just kind of lay it on there. There's no way to clip it or nothing like that. So I ended up doing doing this right here, but I thought I'd explain it to you. So the ears that go here are supposed to mount on your factory vehicle on your actual core support. That's why they give you like a little rubber bushing, oscillator, whatever. We can't do that. The diameter or the width of the radiator itself is about 3.5. E-fans itself is probably like another 4.5, 5. So it's about a good 10 inches overall, 10 or 8 inches that's sitting outside. So like I said, the good thing we're doing E-fans because we're kind of real close to the motor itself. Cut the ears off because you're not going to use them and it's kind of a sore thumb. What I ended up doing is the only way that this and this is actually mounted to the core support or presentado is just right here. So I ended up doing is getting the washer, because you can't use the rubber oscillator because it'll just pull out if you're trying to put any tension. So I took it out, use a washer kind of style from a shock of your bushing, your washer, and then your tuerca. I just ended up using that since it's a big diameter overall, and then the inner diameter for the tornillo is pretty small, so you can use a small one. Like I said, use that. Ran it all through. Ended up doing is making a hole here because I didn't want to make one here and have extra long piece sticking out, more of a sore thumb. So I just drilled a hole and used a close-in wrench, snuck it in there, and then, you know, presentarlo. So what I'll probably end up doing, like I said, did the same thing on the other side, is just probably see if I can find like a rubber grommet or whatever just to taparlo so it won't be a sore thumb. And then whenever you need to take this apart, you just pop it off and repeat the process. Like I said, I was going to use that plastic piece to cover this exposed area, but it was going to be flimsy. So what I ended up doing is the same material that it's a little bit different in thickness. This one's a little bit more sturdy than that, but it's the same shit. What I ended up doing is measuring from the core support all the way to the E-fan and letting it stick out, overhang about a good quarter. Took overall length, so the length of it is 3 feet by 3 1/4, and then I needed somewhere to mount it, so I gave it half. So in general, the whole thing is cut to 3 3/4. Give it half, and all I did was just put on the vise, marked it, and just started beating it, recorrerlo, tighten it, beat it, the whole length. Ended up cutting these little sections out for your mounting point, so it won't look sore of a thumb. Also did a little bit of smoothing out, so it won't look as harsh and be sharp and dangerous. It ended up having to do a little notching right here for this little hump on both sides, and then all I did was just self tappers, one here, 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 shebang. So there's 5 of them holding this in, and it's pretty sturdy. It looks a little bit better. I can probably clean it up, try to polish it. If not, you can just fill it up with some stickers or some bullshit or paint it on later on. Who knows? Who cares? One of the main things that I was kind of dealing with and, you know, wrapping my head around was trying to figure this out. And this, because this wasn't really mocked up. So I ended up doing just trying to use as much factory parts as possible. Have to use a factory reservoir because, like I said, this radiator doesn't have the cap to tirar el agua. So if you do have that, you can kind of reroute it to go back in. But since we ain't got that and we have this, we have to actually route it to the heater core and come back. So that's fine. It's the only thing that's actually extra that we really don't really need, but we have to for the meantime. Factory reservoir, I use the factory point on the tray itself. So this is the factory battery tray, intake tray, whatever you want to call it, that supports everything that goes on the core support on the Tahoe. Use all that. Use the factory mounting point for the reservoir, and then on your GMs, like I said, on the back of these has like a little slot where you can like push it in there and it keeps it sturdy somewhat on the back end. So I repurposed the bracket off of that vehicle. I'm not exactly sure what it went to, but repurposed it. All I did was just use a piece of, I think this is like 3-inch wide flat bar, whatever you want to call it. Heated up, bended it, used 2 mounting points right there and right there to keep it sturdy. And then once I did that, all I did was use the existing holes the way you would mount it on the other core support. Like I said, factory hardware, nut and bolt, made holes, drilled them. It's all sturdy. And then to keep the box not just sturdy here, but here on the fender itself, all I did was have some brackets laying around, or pieces of flat stock, however you want to call it, with already holes in it. All I did was bend them. So this point is a factory mounting point for your fender on your Tahoe, and then the other one is right there, but this is just open space. So I ended up doing is just bending it to meet that hole, and then use an existing hole on the fender itself, and, you know, factory hardware again. And then here I actually had to bend it and twist the bracket a little bit to make it reach. Una perra basura. Look at this. This shit's nice. Motherfucker looking like a Corvette. Or a fucking, yeah, Corvette. Or if not, the goddamn Camaros or some shit with a big ass fucking plastic. Nah. Fucking Dodge RTs and shit with a big ass plastic covering the engine. So, went to the local junkyard, pick and pull, because my dumbass misplaced the little clips that go for the transmission lines, and I honestly ain't gonna wrap my head trying to figure it out and seeing where I put them. So went ahead and got those, and then I also got some door handles, Escalade door handles, black ones, all 4 again. And then I came across this, which I've always wanted to. I never seen one of these up close. I know they're pretty nice. I didn't know it was actually 3 pieces. I thought it was just 2. I didn't know about this side, because I would always see this one just toss on the floor or whatever. But shit, this shit looks nice. I was gonna throw this on my vehicle, but honestly, it looks better on this. It makes it more discreet, more hidden, much nicer. It finally came in, but crazy part is I had to fucking pick it up. That's okay. I guess I'm the only worried about this shit. So we got some new headers. Some good old Amazon specials. They should work. As well as you got your O2 sensor. Your O2 sensor, well, you never do that lift off, you have to have at least the front 2 to make it work. If not, you kind of shit in the water. Let's say if you get shorties or something like that. But I made it get the long 2, or the longest we can get, where you have your bongle, your O2 sensors. The only thing I hope is the same thread pitch. But we'll find that here shortly. I'm gonna take the ones off of the Tahoe, put them on there and see what we got. But here's the driver's side. That's nice. They give you gaskets and hardware. Because I thought I was over here thinking we were gonna have to use either the same ones or have to go to the parts store to get some. Quality seems pretty decent. You're welded all the way through. And some spots, you can see where they welded it. Couple tacks here and there. But it looked pretty good. Let's see. Yeah, the little collector part looks a-okay, but it'll do for now. But for, I think it was like 200 bucks. It'll do. Oh yeah, Papi, I saw that rotating action. How better, look at that. TikTok shot, special, son. Eres blogger. Eres youtuber. Es una perra basura. But I think it was time to finally invest in myself. A couple things. So this was the old gimbal that was purchased a while back. I used it a couple times, but I could never really get this to work. And never really had the base. So couldn't really rest it on anything. Also, I couldn't really use it because every time I was trying to focus on something or trying to take a video going around a vehicle or whatever, I would manually have to do it and it would look ugly and shitty and you would see whenever rotate. But now that I got this, I can actually use it a little bit better. Download the app. I think you can use the app with this. I'm not exactly sure. And then this will kind of help whenever you're having to do something where you're constantly going up or down, whatever. This one's whenever you're just, you know, doing the whole 180 or 360 or whatever. This is for better options. And then we got una perra basura. So like I said, boys, you gotta invest in yourself. Hopefully one day we'll make this a full-time thing where I ain't really gotta work as much and have more time to do what I really enjoy, even though I get my ass shit out about it. Like I said, we got good content, swaps, interior stuff. I mean, I can do anything automotive, repairs. I mean, I've already built a couple trucks, the 4th gen, the 2nd gen, the whole clapped out round body. We got Scar, we got the OG from back in the day in high school, and then the one that didn't really make it to its full potential was Tetris, the OBS swap LS. But that one, yeah, it's history. But like I said, now we're getting into some bigger shit, something to have fun with. And I think it's time to take it a little bit more serious, try to make something out of it. Because like I said, it's a dream, you enjoy it. It's basically like you've never really worked in a day in your life. So we're going to try to make as best content as possible to get to that point. But for now, we're going to do little small things here and there to get there. No good, puppy, no good. We hitting, boys, not just on the transmission line. Like I said, we're trying to use the OEM transmission line. Hey, get the veneno. Trying to use the factory transmission lines. Instead of trying to cut them, you use compression fittings and then AN all the way, because then you're gonna have to do AN up top up here, and we don't want to do that. I think all you have to do is just unscrew that, and whatever thread pitch it is to do AN, do that. The headers ain't sitting. One is because it needs to go forward more and down. Right now we're hitting the frame. That's the only issue that I'm running into right now on just the passenger side. Just trying to do a mock-up. I mean, I gotta be way out here, and you can see. So I got the manifold in. Excuse my voice, feeling a little shitty. I don't know why. Like I was mentioning, the transmission lines are gonna be in the way from it, from it sitting properly. So what I ended up doing is trying to push it as much as I can towards the motor, and try to bend all this shit to make it work. I went ahead and gave it a couple whacks to give myself some clearance from the frame and the manifold. Before, it was barely a cut here on both sides. Now I can kind of fit a fingernail. The same thing on the back. It was kind of close without even being mounted, just sitting it on there. So from where the bell housing is at, where your starter mounts, the farthest point to where the manifold is, I can fit a fingernail. So that's good distance. Another thing, like I said, trying to bend these hard lines is kind of a pain in the ass and you can't really do it. I did want to keep this, to keep it all original, since it's, you know, feasible to use. But to bend it, to everything be happy, where it ain't touching nothing hot, the manifolds, or sitting against the motor or a mount or something like that and rubbing over time and causing a leak, I don't want to deal with that later on. So what I'm planning on doing is just doing the same thing again with the fuel lines get the right adapter for the transmission, and then go to 6AN. And then instead of routing it the way it is with all this shit and all this being cluttered up, your collector, however you want to call it, is sitting way down there. So I ain't got nothing here to mess with. So what I plan on doing, like I said, with the 3/8 braided line is kind of like this. So from here, go up and then come down about somewhere on there in the back, and then come down both lines to the frame and come back up. Plus, anyways, the dipstick haven't put in there, and it has to go somewhere around here, and the transmission lines are going to be in the way. So just to prevent myself from batallando más, trying to make shit work, we'll just go that route. All right, boys, so I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Feeling like dog water. Not straight basura. But we still gonna try to attempt to explain and get some shit done. So right now that I got these manifolds in, I can go ahead and worry about the linkage part. I didn't want to get all this figured out and then this probably be in the way and then have to redo all the shit and figure it out. But now that we got this in, we can start. So I'm gonna go ahead and explain how I want to do this. So most people trying to make this work, they get a linkage kit, whatever, off of Summit Racing, eBay, Amazon. If my voice cracks out, my bad. But I'm gonna try to clear my throat the best I can. They try to use the kits, but you can kind of repurpose this and make it work. So what I'm gonna end up doing and try is, this is your factory linkage for your transmissions. For your transmissions. So from here, you get your little eye, you got your cable that goes back, wraps around, goes into your floorboard, grommet, and then goes up to your shifter. On these trucks, it's in the front. So instead of buying the kit and trying to use that cable, which I'm pretty sure would be a pain in the ass to do, all you have to reuse is basically your factory pieces off the original transmission. The slot and that slot are identical. It slides over same way with your Torca. Ties down the same way as far as here. All this does, it just rotates. That's all this did, all it was just getting pulled back. This one is just getting turned right here in the center. The center. So to make this work, all I have to probably do is, if I show you here, it's not centered right no more. So what I'm gonna do is unbolt this bracket and push it forward to where it lines up straight. If the case may be that it's kind of at a steep angle, which I don't think it would be, all I'm gonna do is just, like I said, push it forward, make new holes. If I need to shim it down so it can be pretty symmetrical and straight, I'll shim it down with some spacer or something. It might be half, it might be the quarter. And then you can go back and get your adjustment screw and put it back in the hole. What you would do is put it in park, put your shifter in park, put that in, tighten it up, and then go through the gears, making sure that everything feels proper, nothing bounds up, and we should be solid as far as transmission. I'm gonna do that later on. I'm just gonna explain it in this portion.